right, so seems like false prophets are people who have accessed the spiritual realm, but they skip these steps right here. Somewhere in fourth dimension, right? I say right, but I don't know if you know what I'm talking about at all. I'm gonna explain this just real quick. So somewhere in the fourth dimension, somewhere in the dream realm, they have accessed spirituality. Could be through books that they've been reading, information, some sort of encounter with the spiritual world. But they did this outside of mastery and outside of love. So they come forth into our reality, which is pretty much 3. But they have nothing but indoctrination, okay? Because what needs to happen for each individual soul is that when you access your dream realm, which is fourth dimension, every human being, every single human being ever born on the planet, ever, and even the animal kingdom, and even probably every other kingdom, has access to the fourth dimension. Okay? So, to be a Gaia soul, to access Gaia, you would have had to access hidden fourth and hidden eighth, right? But when you access this dream realm in your alpha state, in your higher dream states, your brain states, either in your sleep or your meditative brain, if you're not in your mastery, you're not able to access these other higher realms, which I'll go over in a second. You start to operate somewhere between 7th and back here in 3rd, because you have to master 4th. No soul can ascend into these higher realms, have soul ascension without mastery, which is why we need Jesus, okay? Without mastery, without the proper elements, you cannot ascend. You can't just access 4th and then become smart and that's it. You're saved. You're a higher being. You're a teacher. You're this. You're that. I'm this, that. I'm Christian. I'm this, that. No. The whole thing about New Earth and the awakening is that you are being given as a species, as humanity, an opportunity to master 4th dimension and move into a 5th dimensional state of being where you have anchored in all of this that's available to you through the ascension path that Jesus himself mastered and created for us through his existence and those before him and those that were with him, right? They anchored all that in. And they did so outside of time and prior to later times when these false prophets, these people who try to skip 4th, move into 5th, but don't have all of this. So you can't reach the Father being all the way up here in like the 27th dimension, right? That's where you get to finally sit with the Lord, the Father. But look how much you have to go through. You have to access 4th, and then you have to master this change and this manifestation, and you have to access 5th through mastery of 4th. And each dimension falls back on the other dimensions. So 5th falls back on 4th. So through fourth, you can access what's available to you from 5 and beyond. But if you stop at 7 and you don't even bring in love, you don't have a real awakening, rebirth, or you don't commune with the Lord, it becomes false. And then you have to consistently do this however long it takes for your soul to have this soul growth and for this access to become complete access. So, change is inevitable. Through accessing fourth, you're going to experience change manifestation. To become the master of that, you need love. You need spirituality. Spirituality comes from oneness with nature. Love comes from oneness with your fellow human beings, which is why you have family, and that is why you have church and things like that. It's to access this oneness. And even if you're not getting it through your family or your parentage, we have church that's supposed to make up for that. That's what church is for. It's not to indoctrinate you. It's to give you some seventh dimensional knowledge and some love. It's these two things right here. That's what a church building should contain, plus all this other higher love that God has to offer. A church ministry, a church building, a church community, whatever. And then you have supplemental communities that give you education and stuff. Those all fall within seventh dimension. Eighth is where you access growth, wealth, soul growth at the soul level, and you start to expand and you start to access prosperity. You're not just born into eighth realm. Okay, this is something you anchor in for yourself. You know, you can't just be handed it to you in the world. You have to access it. That's mastery. That's why it becomes so important to understand that it doesn't matter how rich you are in this new awakening and going into new earth. It doesn't matter how privileged you are. None of that's going to matter. And the further we go, the less and less that's going to matter. Ninth realm is total fulfillment and of existence. See, it starts out like this. First dimension is basic existence. Second dimension is movement of existence. Third is physicality of existence. Fourth is the dream realm. Fifth is change and manifestation, right? And then once you start to master fourth and you contain and are experiencing all of the elements of sixth and seventh, this manifestation starts to become complete and you get more and more access. You master fourth more and more, and you get more and more access. First, it starts with eighth dimension. Usually eighth and ninth come together. That's why it's called Gate 89. Because once you get to that point, you're in your awakening. Here you become enlightened. Here you become awakened, okay? Here you experience some sort of birth. You've had a birth into the world, and then you're going to need a rebirth, right? Jesus taught us that. Then you get to this awakening point. And that's the realm of total fulfillment. And then you've gotten access to eighth and ninth. And so then you start to have access to all this other stuff, which is 10th is the realm of fulfillment and completeness. So the prophet, the blonde-headed lady, the prophet that was giving us messages from God, and she was doing it with a spoonful of sugar, which is okay as long as it's accurate. She kept getting 10-10 every time she would post her messages from God. And I was getting 10-10 when I was receiving what she was posting because it contained the fullness of completion. It came from the realm of fullness. Your ministry should contain the fullness of the Holy Spirit, meaning you've done all this mastery. You've gotten out of your ego. You've become a good manifester. You know how to meditate. You know how to pray. You know how to manifest things into reality. You know, you've gotten pretty good at that. You've accessed 6th and 7th enough through 4th that your 5th dimensional manifestation is happening for you at a rapid rate. You're now a 5th dimensional being. And then you become the master and you're creating. Okay? 11th is the realm of mastery and spirituality. So you access spirituality in 7th, and in 11th, you become the master of everything you learned, right? Then all of the realms after 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and all the way up to 22 are the mystery realms. And they contain a lot of the activation and stuff that you would need to keep going, of course. And it contains all of the hidden and shadowy aspects of all these other realms that you're now accessing. So then it becomes a new level of mastery because you're going into some of the hidden stuff at this point. See, I went beyond that and went into hidden 4th and hidden 8th, which no one had done yet besides Jesus himself that I'm aware of. But since I did, and since he did, now other souls can. And I didn't have to be put on a cross and die to do it. I had to experience a different type of sacrifice. I had to sacrifice all of the recognition and ego and some of the love experiences and some of the abundance experiences that I could have been having so that the grand mission and more souls and the 144,000 could continue to gather and more souls could make it into these higher realms so that New Earth can be anchored in. It had to be done. It absolutely had to be done, and it had to be done when it was done, how it was done. And Jesus even did that. So after 11th, you're the master. You've been mastering all of this, and now you have access to even more. You have access to these even hidden realms, and access to 22. By the time you get to the 22nd dimension, and some people are born with codexes that give them immediate access because their souls are expanded to a certain degree already. This will often show in their birth date and in their heritages. So divination is coming from 7th and contains some of this, but it contains some of these truths. But if it's lacking the love of Christ, which is the fulfilling and essential love, it won't be complete. You'll be a false. But 22nd is divine mastery and mystery. And then 27th is a God realm. It's not the highest realm, but it's the highest realm that a soul can go to in a lifetime, in a body. And God can meet you at 27th. This is also sacred flame code, which Saint Germain represents this sacred flame, but he isn't the one that anchored in this sacred flame. This sacred flame was anchored in by Jesus. He's just the first one in his time that gained access to this through 4th. But he couldn't have gained all the access because it wasn't unlocked yet, because this was way prior to the grand ascension which we were in that Jesus talked about. So we know that Saint Germain is not somebody we should worship. He's just a man who was able to access the love, the sacred flame love. But now we all need to be accessing the sacred flame love. So you have to beware of the false prophets, okay? And there's so many. These are people that get stuck in 4th. They can't get past 7th because they haven't mastered the love realm. And they haven't experienced the fullness of Jesus. And they'll go out and start ministries because they've experienced this indoctrination and enlightenment. But often they have not completed it. most humans have not completed it. That's first of all how we know. Second of all, we know because Jesus told us that's what they would do. So when these false prophets rise up, and that happens to me, they rise up, they want attention, right? They're coming from seventh dimension. They want approval. They're still bringing a lot of ego. They want approval. They want somebody to say and clap for them, and I believe you, and it's okay what you're doing. It's acceptable. It's good. So but we're not supposed to accept it, okay? We're not. We're supposed to insist on the love. Insist on the mastery. Insist on finding it ourselves and not being led by these false indoctrinations, okay? Because that's seventh dimensional knowledge and spirituality. Yes, you need it, but you don't need to be, you're not going to master fourth with just this. Not just with some knowledge or some book. You can master fourth through everything Jesus and the disciples brought, though. And all the people in the Bible, because they were in mastery and they were anchoring in all of this. And when you get to the meaning of the Bible codes, then you start to understand that. Then you start to also understand why the 66 canon is the only book that gives you all this mastery outside of this indoctrination, because it contains every bit of the love without all the indoctrination. So everything before that was a lot of indoctrination. So Jesus brought that edification. Once he did that, the book became perfected. So that's all I'm going to say about that. That's why I'm experiencing all these false prophets and all this stuff that I'm experiencing. A lot of it has to do with the fact that I did this walk and I did what I did, and they're still just rising up. They want my clap. They want my approval. They want my friendship. They want somebody to say it's good, it's okay. Pat on the back. Here's your attention. Yes, I'll buy your book. Oh, yes. No, okay. No, you have to commune with Archangel Michael, and you have to align with the scriptures, or you just get rebuked because I can't accept it, right? That's really what it boils down to. Doesn't matter what your message is, how accurate it seems. I showed you a prophet last night. He came from 1973. He's saying everything that these prophets are saying at this time on every other prophet channel. He's already laid that out back in 1973. So why is that? Because they're accessing the seventh dimension. They haven't mastered fourth. They haven't become fifth dimensional, and they're not going to be able to show you how to become fifth dimensional, but you know who can? 11, which is 22, which is divine mastery and mystery. So twin flames come to help you do that. But they have to join in divine union, and they have to go into fourth, access all of this, which they've done before. They have all the keys for it. And they do that with the love that they have, because they have already gotten all this soul growth in another time and realm. And they can get outside of time and then anchor all this in for you. So basically, I need to rebuke the entire seventh dimension, which is all of indoctrination, in order to do a lot of this. That's hard to do when we're still in jobs, churches, groups, and everything the Matrix has to offer that contains all of this that is not containing all of this. All right, so that's my twin flame teaching for the day. Just a quick run through. Just a quickie. Love you. Bye.